tips and tricks for the secret tools that I use with my colored pencil portraits. These 4 are the most commonly used. So let's go ahead and get started. Number 1, the slice tool. This is my ultimate favorite one to use when adding layers and detailed fur features. Now here is an example of how I apply it. Now you want to make sure you have built up enough layers that you can use this, because if you do not build enough layers up, it will not properly scratch off that last layer that you have built up. Now in the applications video, I show you how to build up those layers to apply this tool. Now I am showing you an example of what it would look like on an actual portrait. And you want to use it basically to make all of those details in the fur. You can also use it for whiskers. However, I have another tool for that later on. But for this one as an example, in the ear, I'm really building up those layers, and then I'm scratching off just the detail so that it looks like there is depth in the ear. Now here is another example where I am scratching off basically to pull in some highlights in the fur. Since this fur is mostly black with a hint of brown, what I did was scratched off in the certain areas that you can see where the fur looks like it seems to be reflecting because of the angle of the light. And if you haven't noticed by now, I am scratching off in the same direction as the fur. That's very, very important so that you can make that fur look as realistic as possible. On the slice tool, there is a sharp edge as well as a round edge, and I like to use the round for thicker fur and the sharp one for very detailed pieces. Now here is another example of when I use it to layer up over a piece of material that they're using, such as a collar, and it really adds in that the fur is sticking over that collar. If you want to purchase one of these tools, you can go to slice.com or you can purchase it on Amazon. Another tool that I use, I don't use it very often because it is not a light, fast tool, which means that it will not last very long. This may yellow over time, but this is a white gel pen. You want to make sure that the ballpoint is as small as possible so that you can get those details in. And here's an example of how I used it. Now, if the slice tool doesn't work, you can go ahead and use the ballpoint pen just for a little bit of detail. I also like to use it in the eyes if the highlight isn't strong enough. Now this pencil eraser is my ultimate favorite. I use this all the time. Of course, it looks very dirty. Definitely use it a lot. This is great for erasing details, whereas a normal eraser would not be able to get to. And you can sharpen this with a normal sharpener. I don't do it very often because it does tend to eat away. And you can get this on Amazon. Another tool that I like to use is the embossing tool. This is really important for when you need to add something like whiskers or little pieces of hair that you won't be able to get to with the slice tool. So as an example here, I am just indenting very lightly with the smallest ballpoint and adding in the little bits of hair that's underneath the chin. And you can see as I am adding these layers that it does not affect where I am drawing over top of it. And you want to be careful when you are drawing over it, because if you haven't indented it enough, the pencil may draw, in those lines, and then you will have a little bit of pencil where you needed it to be white. And here's another example. Now, I try to do it before I actually do the whole portrait, just so that I don't make a mistake and accidentally draw over the part that it needs to be drawn in. So here I'm doing it lightly, not too indented, because the more you indent, the thicker the piece will be. And for this one, the whiskers are not very thick because it is a smaller portrait. So I'm just doing it very lightly where the whiskers are. Now, you don't have to do it just for whiskers. You can also do it for little pieces of white fur. But for a great example, I'm showing you the whiskers. So just watch as I am doing them, just very carefully and lightly, because once you have it down, you cannot erase that. You can't do anything about it. And so here is the result. You can clearly see that it was basically avoided when I drew over with colored pencil. Now you can see that some of the colored pencil did get in between. That's usually because I did draw lighter, so you just want to be careful of that. Sometimes it does look more realistic actually when you have a little bit of colored pencil showing through, but this is a great example for you to be able to see. And you can see in the upper right hand corner where the eye is that I also drew a little piece going over the eye. That is pretty important because it makes the portrait look very realistic when you have those little white whisker features, especially for cats that have little white whiskers everywhere. So this is the last example of using that embossing tool. It's adding more whiskers as well, and you can see I'm doing it just a little bit heavier, and you'll see how that turns out. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope this helped you learn the tips and tricks on using these really cool, unique tools. Now, not a lot of colored pencil artists talk about these tools. Sometimes you can see them using it in other time lapses, or they might mention it here and there. But I really wanted to put all this together to show you that you don't just have to use colored pencils to create all these really cool effects. So if this did help you, I hope that this will get you to the next level in drawing your portraits. If it does, I also have an awesome offer that I will be sharing with you later on. So just be, aware of that and keep an eye out. And of course, if you have any questions or requests, please let me know. I would love to help you out in any way, shape, or form. You can email me, message me on Facebook, basically anywhere, and I will be happy to answer.